Hi, everybody. My name is Doug Schweitzer. I'm the Minister of Jobs, Economy, and Innovation for the Government of Alberta.
Minister, thank you very much for participating in this interview today. You are a third generation Albertan. How would you describe Alberta's approach to innovation and entrepreneurship in general?
Well, I think if you go back to the beginning of Alberta as a province, I mean, it is a history of generation after generation of innovators. People, when my ancestors came, they had a homestead up north in the Peace Country. I mean, that was innovation to figure out how to survive those long, cold winters, clearing the land, everything that went into that. Plus, when you take a look at the history of our resource-based economy and the energy industry, that is pure innovation, from unlocking the oil sands, SAGD, carbon capture, horizontal drilling. Our history is based off of innovation, and we're really starting to see that next generation of entrepreneurs today in Alberta hit their stride in a whole bunch of new areas, from agricultural technology, fintech. It's really exciting to see the future growth of Alberta, and innovation is the key to all of it.
So, what stands out to you about Alberta's innovation ecosystem? How and why is it different, let's say, than other provinces and territories in the rest of Canada?
Well, Alberta has been an innovative ecosystem for decades upon decades. We've been known as that entrepreneurial capitalist hub of Canada. And you're seeing that kind of restoring itself right now. We've gone through about a 5 to 7 year period of time where we've tried to figure out what is the path forward for Alberta. And in the last year or two, we've really started to see that next generation of entrepreneurs figure out what that path forward looks like. We've gone from about 1,200 tech companies in 2018 to over 3,000 in 2020. We've seen venture capital grow rapidly in Alberta from an investment standpoint. And on top of that, you've also seen the energy industry figure out what its path forward looks like as well, with massive clean hydrogen projects coming on, being announced in Alberta. We've got Alberta leading the country in renewable power investment, private sector driven, taking a look at where the opportunities are globally. So there's lots of reasons to be excited about the future of Alberta, and it's based off of decades upon decades of entrepreneurs. And the last 5 to 7 years, we had to kind of reinvent ourselves a little bit and figure out what that path forward looks like. But it's really encouraging over the last year to see Alberta start to hit its stride.
Help us understand a little bit better the lay of the land of Alberta's innovation landscape, its composition. Who are the key players, whether it's startups or multinationals, accelerators, academia, perhaps the government itself as well, and how they collaborate to innovate?
Well, there's lots of different areas to focus on here. So we've got amazing post-secondary institutions at the University of Alberta, University of Calgary, the University of Lethbridge, Olds College, all across the province. You're starting to see lots of different areas of strength. And one example I'll just use is Olds College. They have a smart farm there that they use for agricultural technology, so ag tech. And again, they're partnering with major telcos. They're bringing in the ability to use, the 5G networks in farming. So you got from the range of that, and go to the University of Alberta, where they're at the forefront of vaccine development. So, and you've got the Li Ka-shing Institute there. We've got a Nobel Prize winner in Dr. Houghton. You've got the University of Calgary and being at the forefront of quantum technology. University of Lethbridge, mRNA, vaccine development. So you have lots of amazing post-secondary institutions that are providing the talent pool that we need to build on for the future. And when it comes to big companies, Calgary has one of the highest concentrations in the country of head offices. You've got, in the Edmonton region, you're seeing massive facilities in petrochemicals, hydrogen, lots of other things being built out in that area. So if you want to do anything in Alberta, it's here for you. We're also seeing big advancements in the fintech space. You've got Benevity being a unicorn recently. You've got Neo Financial. You've got robotics companies like Adabotics. You've got, in the Edmonton region, you got Jobber. So there's lots of reasons to be excited from a whole range of industries why Alberta has a bright future ahead.
So what is your strategy overall for innovation in Alberta? What are your top priorities to encourage more innovation, to attract more innovation, I suppose, as well, and ultimately build a more resilient, innovative, and dare I say, maybe diversified Albertan economy?
Well, on this front here, I mean, Alberta's talked about diversification for decades. And in the last 2 years alone, we've really started to see that diversification become a material part of Alberta's economy. And that's why I mentioned earlier on, we've gone from 1,200 to over 3,000 tech companies. And not only are there more, but they're also larger. They're raising more money. They're hiring more people. The percentage of them that are going to be getting to that unicorn status, many of them are on the brink of becoming unicorns themselves, that billion-dollar valuation. So we're really starting to see that be tangible. We also are growing out our film and television industry. So we fixed our film and television tax credit, huge growth in film and television. So diversification is real now in Alberta. And when you take a look at that next generation of entrepreneurs, they want to make sure that they go forward in those areas, and they want to have those opportunities that aren't just necessarily just energy or ag. They want to make sure that they have opportunities in a whole range of industries. And it's really encouraging to see that growth trajectory where Alberta captured 10% of the market share of deal flow and dollars in 2020. So we're really starting to get our per capita trajectory where Alberta's on the map. Even if you went back a year ago, you talk to people in Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, international markets, they wouldn't necessarily have known that Alberta was on the rise. Fast forward to this a year later, they definitely know that Alberta's on the rise when it comes to the tech and innovation space. So again, that's really key for us long term. The other piece that we know in addition to government policy is talent generation, post-secondary institutions. It's a global race for talent because of the pandemic. People are much more comfortable working remotely. So we have to make sure that we can attract people into Alberta. We have a very affordable province in comparison to many other places. Housing prices have priced people out of many other marketplaces. Affordability is going to be key for young people in Canada, and Alberta has a very affordable housing market and a way of life and cost of living overall. So lots of reasons to bet on the future of Alberta in this space.
And you mentioned energy and ag, which are, of course, still major pillars of the Albertan economy. I'm curious what their relationship, those sectors, what their relationship is to innovation and to the rest of the economy, because people often maybe don't realize that out of, let's say, oil and gas R&D come out solutions for ag or for other parts of the economy in Canada, as all across the world, in fact.
Well, we've seen our energy companies in particular over the last 5 years with the price disruptions that they've seen in the marketplace, challenges in getting their products to market. They've had to become far more efficient overall, and they're investing in artificial intelligence. They're looking at machine learning. They're bringing in these technologies into their day-to-day operations to become more and more efficient. And right now with the rebound in prices, you're starting to see these energy companies are very profitable, generating a significant amount of cash. So when you take a look at the marketplace, we still have a huge number of head offices in Alberta, particularly a lot of them are concentrated in Calgary. So you're seeing technology companies. There's one, for example, called mCloud that moved their head office from Vancouver to Calgary recently. They're artificial intelligence driven, efficiency and energy is kind of their main focus. So they're looking for clients to serve, and you're starting to see that growth in that area. Another one that's really, really interesting for us is around clean tech. And you're seeing there's a new platform called Avatar. They're partnering with major energy companies, pipeline companies, Microsoft as well recently, trying to find solutions to big global challenges around carbon emissions, water purification, a whole bunch of different areas that they're covering here. And that innovation is happening in Alberta. So you're really starting to see when it comes to that global push on climate change, Alberta is finding its position as being a world leader on this. So you always hear about ESG. The innovation that's going into the energy sector right now is going to allow Alberta to be a world leader on ESG and play a significant role going forward in the future of energy. The University of Alberta is one of the top institutions in the world when it comes to artificial intelligence and machine learning. It was one of the reasons why Google DeepMind is here in Alberta in the Edmonton region. And we've got Amy, another amazing platform that Alberta Innovates works with, helping making sure that we develop out that talent here in Alberta. Historically, a lot of that talent would leave the province. They would go to other marketplaces. But now with the growing demand for tech talent and people that have that skill set, the emergence of our innovation ecosystem and that maturing that's happening rapidly across Alberta, there's a demand for the people and those jobs are here now in Alberta, which is encouraging to see long-term. So that's one of the reasons that we're focused on this area, is that it's a big piece of our economy locally. It's a big piece of our talent generation, but also there's a huge global marketplace for this. And again, it's all about talent, find those efficiencies in big businesses as well as small businesses. And Alberta companies need to be at that, at the table in those areas.
And what about clean tech? I remember doing an interview with someone you probably know called Dr. Harry Vredenberg from the University of Calgary. And he mentioned that in the Albertan context, clean tech is usually oil and gas, clean technologies. And I guess that's kind of debatable because clean tech, of course, is more than just oil and gas. How do you see it as a priority for your ministry and for Alberta going forward?
When you take a look at, all things to do with energy, resources, there's going to be a massive demand for different types of minerals going forward as well. So when you're talking about clean technology, talking about electric vehicles, batteries, the rare earth minerals that go into smartphones, Alberta is very well positioned on this area. So Alberta Innovates is also doing a big project around bitumen beyond combustion, because the minerals that are in a barrel of bitumen are actually worth more than a barrel of oil. So it's really, a matter of how do you extract those resources in a responsible way. Same thing as well. You got companies like E3 Metals that are taking lithium right out of active wells in Alberta. Again, lithium is a huge part of that future economy, massive growth potential. So Alberta has a history of responsible resource development. There's no reason why we can't continue to play that role, as well as with the tension between China and the United States, China controlling about 80% of the market when it comes to rare earth minerals. There's a big issue as well as around stable supply, national security issues. So we have an opportunity in Alberta with our big trading partner in the United States of building up those supply chains and being a big part of that future economy. When it comes to clean tech, again, Alberta is leading the country in renewable power investment. So solar, wind, we're seeing Tesla batteries go onto our grid. So again, we're really at that forefront of innovation. We have a very uniquely private sector driven power market in Alberta, different than every other jurisdiction in Canada, that allows for that type of innovation to happen and keep up with the speed of innovation that's happening in that field as well. So lots of reasons for us to be at the forefront when it comes to clean technology in many different industries. How do we position Alberta as a clean hydrogen leader going forward as well? We've seen some major announcements by Air Products. You had Suncor and ATCO make a major announcement as well. And we're anticipating that there could be a few other hydrogen announcements for Alberta. Again, hydrogen, it's been talked about for decades, but again, it's really starting to get to that critical mass where the policies around the world are aligning to allow for the development of hydrogen. Alberta is one of the best places in the world from a geography standpoint, talent perspective, infrastructure perspective, the R&D history that we have in Alberta as well, our history of carbon capture and other areas. So it's really an opportunity for Alberta to continue to be at the forefront of innovation in energy, and play a big role as the world makes a big push on climate change. So big opportunity for us on hydrogen. That's one area that I think that Alberta was a year ago, even a little less than a year ago. It was kind of that which jurisdiction in the world is going to move first, or which one's going to be the players in this field. And we're really starting to see Alberta attract that global investment into the hydrogen space.
To wrap up, we're celebrating Alberta's centennial of innovation. I'm curious if you're able to give us a sense of where you see the Alberta economy go in the next 100 years, or at least in the next few decades.
Well, I think 100 years out, that'll be quite the story. I don't even know exactly where we're just going to be, or the world's going to be in 100 years. There'll be advancements that we haven't even dreamed of. Yeah. I just hope that Alberta and the next generations have a bright future in this province. What got me into politics was that I was unsure as to what the future of Alberta's economy and the job opportunities were going to be there for the next generation. And I have to say, particularly in the last 6 to 12 months coming through this pandemic, it's really been encouraging to see the entrepreneurs, the thought leaders, the business people across Alberta really figure out what the path forward is for our economy. And innovation is at the core of many of these areas. And just kind of seeing that development and application of technology to big issues facing the world. Alberta is going to take on those big issues facing the world and come out the other side a success. And it's really encouraging to see that momentum happening in so many different industries in Alberta.